Hi, welcome to my first Speed Science live stream. I'm Andreas. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Elicit. Elicit is an AI research assistant. This is the homepage. And I thought I'd try something new. What I want to do is I want to pick some research topics that I don't know anything about, do zero preparation, and set myself a time limit and see how far I can get in researching them. This is going to be learning in public, but hopefully not too public. I didn't tell anyone about this live stream, so hopefully I have 0 viewers. And my other motivation is I want to improve Elicit, the product that I'm working on, and so we'll see if I run into some snags that I can learn from. If you want to suggest any topics in the comments, I might research those next time. I'm going to use a preview version of Elicit that's running locally, but if you want to use a similar or same version that I'm using, you can sign up for Elicit Plus and we'll add you to it as soon as it's live. I thought I'd start with the topic of sleep training for infants. So personally, I'm going to have a baby soon, and I want to better understand how do you get babies to sleep, and what are the things that science knows about this. I know nothing about this, so we're gonna learn about it together. This is a kind of a new notebook interface, so I'm gonna start using this new notebook Elicit interface. All right, let me just jump in. I think I firstly want to understand just like what kind of literature exists at all. So without having any kind of very specific question. So I'm just gonna say sleep training for infants and see what comes up so that I can build a little bit of a mental model for myself. So we're loading some papers here, and can see an overview here of some initial papers. And I probably want to filter for papers that are a bit more recent. And actually, let's see if there is a meta-analysis or systematic review or just some review paper. Ideally, we have an overview of what the literature knows. If we have something like that was published in the last 10 years or so, I think that could be pretty helpful. And then I think within those, I'm also going to sort by most cited. So here we have postnatal parental education, infant general sleep enhancement appears to increase. Let's look at this one. Okay, already it's I'm gonna actually select all these papers, and I'm gonna say summarize the paper abstracts, and then we'll see if this helps me better understand what's going on here. In the meantime, I'll also look at like what the main findings are for each of these studies, so that I can see whether the papers are relevant or not. And likewise, let's add a summary column for the main findings. Actually, I think for both main findings and summary, I'm going to turn on high accuracy mode, which is a bit slower, but costs a few more credits on Elicit, but is significantly more reliable. Okay, I'm going to start with the summary column for each of those papers, just so that I can figure out if these papers are even relevant to my question or not. Okay, this is sleep enhancement education. This one, so probably teaching the parents how to teach the children to sleep. And then here, systematic review of interventions aimed at reducing sleep-related infant deaths. Okay, this one is interesting, but I don't care about it per se right now, because I care more about getting the children to sleep at the moment, so I will delete this one. And this one summarizes recent literature on infant sleep problems, maybe propose a new paradigm for infant sleep intervention, maybe parent training is generally effective in reducing sleep problems, maybe. Actually, this suggests another thing that I'm interested in here, which is like, what is actually the study population? Because I think I care unusually about just normal children as opposed to children with particular issues. So let's say participant population characteristics. And I'm also going to make this a high accuracy column. Let's see. In the meantime, let's read the summary that we've generated from the studies. So Brandon found that postnatal education can have positive effects, sleep and early neural development, interventions to reduce sleep-related death and eliminate sleep problems, a new paradigm for infant sleep intervention, but then parent training and sleep interventions can be effective. Hospital-based interventions emphasize the need for guidelines in nursery settings. I feel like none of these directly answer my question, but I think, actually, let me look at the population characteristics and then we zoom out. And I think now is also a good time to start my timer, because I wanted to give myself a deadline so that I don't just spend the entire hour without getting to an answer. So I have this 45-minute timer, which I'm gonna start right now. Okay, go. All right, this one, new parents, for infants, preschool children, infants with sleep problems, birth to 6 months. This one seems relevant. Neonatal. Okay, I think what I want to do now is be a bit more precise about what, now that I've kind of looked a little bit into this, formed like some rough mental picture of what kind of research might exist, be a bit more precise. So sleep training. I think first the question is like, what does it even mean? Here, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add a new column, like what is the definition of sleep training used in the paper, if any, and add that. Return one sentence specification of how the paper addresses sleep training. How the paper defines or uses the term sleep training. Again, I'll make this a high quality column. And what I'm trying to do here, I don't specifically care about associating those with the papers. I just want to understand what are even the different options that we can consider here. So there's like kind of educational interventions for parents. Then there's kind of bedtime fading, extinction, something like behavioral sleep interventions. So this will help me better figure out what kinds of terms can I search for to then understand this topic. Okay, I'm gonna load a few more papers here just to see if there are other things that I haven't captured yet. And we're still sorting by citations. This is why it jumped around a bit here. And then once I have a better sense for what it means, I think what I want to do is I want to pick a particular notion. I think maybe this bedtime fading extinction notion is particularly relevant here. Okay, I'm just gonna experimentally look into this by starting a new search, and I'll be a bit more precise now what I'm looking into. Specifically, I'll ask what or do I have a question already? Infant sleep training, bedtime fading, extinction. Actually, I think I still don't have a question. I'm still in the part of the analysis where I'm trying to understand what is the kind of model of the world in the literature. So I think I'm gonna run this more specific query now, where this is gonna run a semantic search, trying to find papers that are relevant to this term. And now I want to understand what is the intervention, because I'm trying to better understand what are different things people have tried related to this. Okay, here we have graduated extinction. Actually, while we're loading, we can look into this. So this says there's not a lot of research on parents' use of sleep management strategies outside of the clinical setting. So they did an internet-based study where they surveyed some Canadian parents about their use, and they found that almost half of parents reported using graduated extinction, which I guess we don't necessarily have the PDF here, but I'm currently assuming this means that actually, I'm not sure what it means. I'm gonna figure this out here. Yeah, increasing intervals between comforting the infant. So that it seems like at least half of parents in Canada among this group used this. And what did they find? Parents in the community had less success relative to parents in a clinical or research setting. Okay, let's go. Oh, that was not good. I just closed the tab that I was working on. Okay, let's just go back to the search that I just had. So that was infant sleep training, graduated, graduated extinction. And like before, I'm gonna also run the paper summary now because there's a more specific query and I wanna see what the literature says about these topics. So summarize paper abstracts. Sleep training method. Parents had less success than in clinical settings. This is what we just read. Significant improvements in sleep measures, infant stress, no long-term adverse effects. Old studies. Sustained effectiveness. Question necessity of ignoring infant cries. All right, so seems like a range of results here. And I'm going to do the thing again that I did earlier, which is I'll filter for more recent studies and see, is there a review that can inform us? And then specifically, is there a well-cited review? Okay, this one seems quite promising. Let's also sort by most cited though. Sleep as a window into early neural development. I think this is less relevant. Infant sleep interventions. Okay, this could be relevant. Infant sleep problems and interventions, this could be relevant. I think this next one is less relevant. I'm gonna delete this one for now. Parent-infant sleep from birth to 6 months, relevant. Although I'm skeptical of new paradigms. Integrated anthropology of infant sleep. I don't know, maybe. Probably not. American anthropologist. Efficacy of parent training, incorporated behavioral sleep interventions for children with autism. Gonna delete this one for now. Parental engagement, education, and behavior. Okay, I think there are 3 papers and that immediately seem like they could be relevant. And I think at this point I should just read the abstracts for these 3 papers. It's probably pretty helpful. And these are from 14, 15, and 17. I'll just go through these in chronological order. Okay, let's see. Actually, before we read the abstracts. Oh no, I did it again. This is the problem with using a preview. I'm currently not saving the results that I'm generating as I go, and so if I accidentally click the wrong button, I have to go back and have to redo the search that I just did, which is quite annoying. We'll definitely try to fix this before the next live stream. But here we are. I think it will be faster to reproduce it than do it the first time because I already know what I'm looking for. So I can just filter for this, can filter for the last 10 years or so. I could also filter for has-PDF, but I don't want to do that for now because there could be very relevant papers where I don't have the PDF and I might want to look for the PDF somewhere else later. Okay, how are we doing on time? Okay, we've already used up a little bit more than 10 minutes, but I think we're closer to getting an overview because we had found these 3 papers that were relevant to us. Okay, and now I search for infant training, which doesn't make any sense, obviously. Okay, here we are again. So we had sorted this by what's cited, and go back. We like this one. I think we like this one. Don't think we like this one. Don't think we like this one. I might have deleted one of them that I had before, but that's fine. These are the 2 more recent ones. And now let's see. So we have this one. I'm going to read this one now, although I think this is where we lost the context last time. So this one is still primarily about infant death, though, which is not exactly what we were looking for. This is a meta review. People looked at articles on PubMed, etc. Let's still read the results. Maybe it's relevant. So people have tried a bunch of different kinds of interventions, group education, print materials, etc. And had some issues with adherence, some success in changing behaviors. Okay, actually, this is not very interesting. I think this is gonna... Let's try the next one. It's another review of studies including randomized controlled trials. Identified some risk factors like TV in the room, intolerance for crying, maternal depression, significant methodological problems exist with the literature. Okay, I think this makes me think that at least on this like very quick 10-minute review or so, I didn't find a super great meta-analysis. So I'm gonna try something different now, which is I'll try to find more primary studies, and there specifically what I would like is randomized controlled trials where they actually tried different interventions and checked how good were those. So I'm gonna do the same search, but I'll run it with different filters and see, are there any kind of interventions like different kinds of graduated extinction that I am interested in the results for. So let's filter down to RCTs. I'm again going to filter for more recent trials, although a little bit less recent than before, just so to give it more space in case there were trials a little bit earlier on. And let's see what we find. And here I already know I probably am going to care about like what the intervention was, because that's kind of the main thing. And I also probably care about what was the outcome that was measured. Once again, I think I'm gonna sort by most cited within these results. Although I think all of these are like pretty similar. Yeah, it's not a huge variance. Okay, let's look at these one by one and see if there are any that are relevant to us. Okay, so the second one is a graduated extinction study. And actually one thing I want to note for later is what are the longitudinal effects. I don't know if these are going to be in this particular batch of results. Okay, it seems like some of these are group teaching sessions or training sessions for the parents. And in that case, I still actually would like to know what was the particular intervention that they were taught. So what was the sleep training intervention that was applied to the infants or that the parents were taught? Yeah, I think that is what I care about. And then, great, now we have like the outcomes that were measured in the different studies. So here's like how long did the mom sleep, number of awakenings, composite sleep index scores, nightly wakes, differences in growth. Okay, this seems like a potentially longitudinal one. Sleeping positions at 3 months of age, average nighttime of regulated sleep, sleep duration. Okay. I don't care about the sleep position one. Gonna delete that one. And now we can also look at the interventions. Sleep and oriented strategies. That's so generic. Graduated extinction, bedtime fading. Actually, I'm gonna do something more specific here, which is, did they study graduated extinction, bedtime fading, and then say yes, no, or unclear. And then I'll screen based on this column, because I think for now this is really the topic that I'm interested in. Okay, and I'm gonna, this one seems like didn't obviously, so I'm gonna delete it. Here, yes, yes, no. Yeah, so this one, teaching them to wait before attending to their nocturnal awakening, putting drowsy but still awake. Don't know, I think this might be a bit related, but I don't particularly care about high recall here, so I think it's fine if we just filter for yes and then look at the studies that say yes. Okay, and now what I want to know is what were so I want to know what actually happened, like what was the what was not just the outcome measured, but what was the effect on the child, effect on the child, or on the child's sleep. What was the effect of graduated extinction bedtime fading on the child's sleep? Let's make a column here. Let's also quickly check 180, 57 citations. Okay, these are probably not terrible studies. For this one, we have a PDF. Actually, I'm gonna open this PDF, and in a moment, maybe we can look at it in more detail. Okay, so here, the first one says both resulted in large decreases in sleep latency. Presumably this means time it took for the infant to go to sleep, and number of awakenings, wake after sleep onset, large decreases in the graduate extinction group. Yeah, I think we'll have to split out the different groups better later. Significant improvement in sleep disturbances. So fewer sleep disturbances, I guess. I don't know what these CSI scores are. Would have to look into that. So controlled comforting, increase in the longest sleep periods, reduction in the percent of infants with 2 or more night wakes. No significant in the number of active wakes. Don't know what these are. Longitudinal effect. So actually, specifically, I care about, like, are the children going to be harmed later on somehow? Okay, just for the sake of completeness, I'm also gonna do 2 things. Actually, first I'm gonna do show more like these, in case there are other studies like these in the literature that I should know about. Okay, this is, it's not showing up yet because I'm filtering by this column. I'm gonna remove that for now, just so that I see. No, no, unclear, no, unclear. Can wait a bit until this loads. And because we want to be a bit more comprehensive, I'll click load more again. So we have a larger set of papers. And then I'll go back to filtering by whether they studied this or not. It's probably still going to load some things in the background. And while that's happening, I'll also summarize these 3 paper abstracts in case I missed anything. Okay, we found one more here. Pediatric insomnia. Camping out intervention. Oh, high separation anxiety. I see. Gradual separation where parents sleep next to the infant's crib on a separate bed or mattress. I think this is still not exactly what I was looking for here. Anyway, let's read the summary. Significantly improve infant sleep, no adverse effects on stress or long-term attachment in this particular study, although I think we'll need to look into this more. Improving sleep training with autism spectrum disorder. Group teaching session, reducing nightly wakes. Okay. I think what I would like to know is also how big is the effect quantitatively, because I think whether it matters a little bit or a lot, it's just an important difference. How big is the improvement of children's sleep quantitatively? Let's see if we can find something here. And then the other thing I'm interested in, as I mentioned, is the longitudinal effects. So can already start looking for papers here. I think I'm probably just gonna do the same query again, but with a different filter. So I'm gonna run this and filter for longitudinal. And while that's happening, let's go back. How big is the quantitative effect? First one doesn't have a quantitative effect. This is our longitudinal search. Let's think about, do we want anything else? Yeah, probably we want to filter for not incredibly old studies, although because it's longitudinal, we probably want to have a little bit more time. Otherwise, they just don't have much time to study the long-term outcomes. Okay, we have another result. 1.5 decrease in composite sleep index. No. Okay, there's a table in the paper. I'm gonna open this paper now and see, did they composite sleep? What is this composite sleep index? Let's see, this assembles a bunch of different sleep quote-unquote problems. Bedtime resistance, night awakening, early awakening. That makes it a bit hard to interpret, unfortunately. Okay, the total score ranged from 0 to 12, with higher scores indicating more severe problems. Okay, this seemed like not a very interpretable score, unfortunately. Let's see if we got any other quantitative results. So we have here reduction of parents has severe sleep problems from 14% in the control group to 4%. That seems pretty significant. The percentage of intervention infants decreased from 80% to 30%, and 80% to 60% in the control group. That seems like a very large effect. So let's check what was the intervention here. We have it in here. This is the controlled comforting, where you increase the longest. No, actually, we don't know what this is. 2 to 10 minutes taken to console the infant, and then leaving the room for increments of 2 minutes up to 10-minute intervals. Okay, that seems helpful. And this is an RCT from 2015. Okay, so where are we at right now? I think we have like some studies that seem to suggest improvements, including some like seemingly large quantitative improvements. But we don't know yet if there are any bad longitudinal outcomes. I'm gonna, in the last 15 minutes, I'm gonna try and figure that out. So what do we have? We have the search we ran, where we filtered for a publication year in the last, I don't know, 20 years or so. And we filtered for longitudinal study. Let's see what we care about here. Actually, once again, we want to know, is this about graduated extinction, bedtime fading, I don't know, controlled comforting, and say yes or no, or like is the intervention because I specifically care about the long-term effects of this particular intervention. And I'd assume for many of these it's probably no, so I should already load some more. In fact, there might be a smarter thing to do here, which is I could search it, just directly search for longitudinal study on infant sleep training, on graduate extinction, or bedtime fading for infant sleep training, and see if that helps. Okay, but while it's happening, it seems like we have found at least one here. So again, I'm going to filter by this keyword. And what is this about? Different kinds of extinctions. And now what I want to know is, what is the long-term effect of the intervention on the child? I'm also going to load more just in case there are more studies that actually do study the long-term effects here. And at the bottom here, I was running a different query. I'm also going to filter for longitudinal explicitly here, and I'm also going to filter for like semi-recent. Okay. Here we have, what is the long-term effect? Positive effects on daytime functioning, behavior, mood, self-esteem. Wait, I'm skeptical of this. Okay, I think we should actually open this paper and check what's going on. So, what is this paper actually? There's like some discussion of other longitudinal studies. I see demonstrating sleep problems may become chronic. Areas for future research. The long-term impact of behavioral interventions for bedtime problems and night awakenings. Yeah, need to be evaluated. Okay, that's not really helpful. Okay, back to notebook. Let's go to this search where we try a more specific search, and again we want to know whether the intervention is the intervention we actually care about. I'm going to create this column. I'm going to load more. While this is loading, practice parameters for behavioral treatment of bedtime problems and night awakenings. This could be quite relevant. I'm also going to open this PDF. So we have, and not mentioned, not applicable. And let's also ask what is the long-term effect of the intervention on the child? I'm a bit skeptical that there is going to be a lot here, but we can see. Yeah, so this, I think this is the same study we had above. Elicit marks it as a bit uncertain here. And it does say need for further research. No long-term effects on sleep patterns or self-soothing behavior. I mentioned not applicable. Not explicitly discussed. Yeah, I'm not lower quality of sleep in infancy predicted. Compromised attention regulation. Okay, this could be relevant. Let's take a look at this. Unfortunately, here we only have the abstract right now. But it does seem pretty interesting to relate sleep at like 12 months of age to 3 to 4 years. Though it seems like this is not an RCT, and so we can't really conclude that much obviously from it. I think I want to go back to this study that we opened earlier, which was an RCT and I think directly studied graduate extinction, bedtime fading, or sleep education control. And what did they find? Yeah, so both graduate extinction and bedtime fading provided significant benefits above control. Convey no adverse stress responses. Do we have... This one seems like a good one to actually read. Don't know if we have the PDF here though. Go back. So where am I at? I think where I'm at is I want to read at least this one, and actually I should also try to find more studies like this one. And then I think I haven't had much luck with longitudinal studies. I think either they don't exist yet or I didn't search for them correctly. So I probably want to be a bit more thorough there. I think we have enough time actually to see if we can find other interesting studies like this one. So I'm just gonna directly search for the title here. And then I'm gonna use the show more like start functionality to try and find other papers that are most like this. So this is this paper. I'm gonna, I guess these could all be relevant. Let's once again filter by RCT, somewhat recent. And maybe in the last 5 minutes, I'll try something experimental, which is, well, let's say main findings, but I want the main findings summarized in just kind of a few words. Summarize the main findings in a few words. So these are all RCTs, so hopefully they're relatively higher quality. And what I then want to do is I want to group these different papers by their main findings so that I get a bit of a better overview of the literature and what exists. Okay, only 5 minutes left. I hope that's enough time to do that. And actually, while this is happening, we might already start reading it. So this was the paper we originally found not applicable. Gonna delete this one. No marked long-lasting effects on child mental health. Actually, this one seems super relevant. I will open this for later. Maternal nighttime sleep, reduced awakenings. Okay, we've loaded some of them. I'm now going to group these by their outcomes. So let's take main findings, and we're going to revise the group with a language model. Each group should contain papers. Each group name should be short for a finding, a type of finding, and each group should contain papers that have this finding. Don't know if this is going to work. This, as you can see from the UX, is a very experimental action that we just implemented a week or so ago. But okay, here, improved sleep and reduced stress, no significant improvement, no long-term adverse effects, modest or no improvement in maternal mental health. Okay, it seems like this is a good group to look into next and contrast with these studies and understand what's the difference between these. Is there a different intervention in these studies? Actually, we still have 2 minutes, so we can do this. What was the intervention that led to entity, which is the group name? And now it's going to ask this question about each of the papers in each of the groups. we could already try to look, but it's going to close this again whenever it updates it because it's an experimental action. All right, so here the interventions were gray extinction, bedtime fading, parent-based behavior interventions, behavior modification program. Would be nice to have a better way to aggregate these. And here, no significant improvement. Yeah, it's really unfortunate that all of these just talk about behavioral sleep strategies without saying more specifically what they are. Okay, so we're running out of time here. I'd say overall where I'm at is we have this study, which seems pretty good. And we have this study, which seems relevant for the long-term outcomes. I think in both cases, we were not very thorough about like really finding all studies like this. Actually, let's very quickly read this 5-year follow-up just so that we learn a little bit about the long-term effects as well. I think we might have read this a little bit before. So this is 225 families. We had intervention and control families depending on what kinds of sleep interventions they applied. Oh, nice. This was a randomized trial. Not totally sure what the interventions exactly are here, so need to look into that. But whatever they are, I guess there are no long-lasting effects that they could measure with respect to various other kinds of things like psychosocial functioning, stress, child-parent closeness. This one seems a bit lower. All right. So that brings us to the end of the very first research live stream. I think it was a little bit chaotic. I found some studies that seem relevant, but definitely feel like if we had more quickly gotten to a table like this and organized the studies better and had with respect to both what were the interventions and what were the longitudinal outcomes, that could have been even better. If you want to suggest a question for me to research in the next live stream, just post it in the comments or email me, andreas@elicit.com. And thanks for watching. As I say, subscribe, hit the like button. See you next time.